Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today as we embark on a really fascinating journey into the microscopic world of spirulina and chlorella. If you've ever walked down a supplement aisle and kind of wondered about those vibrant green tablets, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're totally stripping away the marketing fluff. We're looking strictly at the science, the rigorous standards, and the bold superfood claims surrounding microalgae using real data to guide us. Okay, let's dive into this. So, I want to start by asking you a question, and honestly, the answer might genuinely surprise you. Did you know algae is likely hiding in your ice cream right now? Yeah, it's true. Long before we started talking about green superfood smoothies, extracts from algae, things like agar-agar, alginate, and carrageenan, had actually been secretly operating behind the scenes. They act as these powerful natural stabilizers and thickeners, giving our favorite everyday treats that perfect creamy texture. You've probably been eating algae your whole life without even realizing it. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to journey all the way from macro food science down to microscopic regulations, and finally, real consumer data. It's like a giant puzzle, and we're going to put the pieces together step by step. You know, out of the hundreds of thousands of algae species out there in the world, we have literally only researched a tiny fraction of them. The potential is just massive. And this brilliantly illustrates how incredibly versatile algae is across diverse industries, far beyond just standard sushi rolls. Because algae can grow almost anywhere on Earth, we're talking oceans, freshwater lakes, inside ice, even on tree trunks. The cosmetics industry, the pharmaceutical sector, and energy branches are highly invested in researching it. In our supermarkets, hidden stabilizers derived from algae are doing the heavy lifting in puddings, baked goods, and, as we just mentioned, ice cream. It's basically a foundational ingredient in modern manufacturing. Right, so to really understand the whole superfood debate, we need to separate the large, leafy seaweed we all know from the microscopic variants sold as supplements. Let's break this down. Macroalgae are large-leaved, visible to the naked eye, and they're commonly eaten as whole foods in a ton of cultures. Just think of the nori wrapping your sushi. Microalgae, on the flip side, are tiny, microscopic organisms like spirulina and chlorella. Because of their incredibly small size, they're primarily cultivated, dried, and consumed as highly concentrated dietary supplements. From this point forward in our explainer, our strict focus is going to be entirely on the micro side of things. Let's define exactly what we're looking at here, zooming in on spirulina. Scientifically speaking, based on data from the manufacturer Sanator, spirulina is actually a cyanobacterium. It is absolutely packed with essential micronutrients, particularly vitamin A and iron. Plus, it features this highly unique cell wall made up of complex multiple sugars. This makes it a fantastic, naturally occurring option for supplementing a modern, plant-based diet, especially when we inevitably fall short on our daily fresh fruits and veggies. But this brings us to the core conflict of our explainer. We're looking at this intense dialectic tension between passionate manufacturers and highly skeptical consumer watchdogs. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the total confidence in its micronutrient profile. Sanatura states unequivocally spirulina is the most valuable food of our time. They base this bold claim on its rich nutritional density, arguing it's particularly useful for folks recovering from surgery who can only eat small amounts of food, because it delivers these highly concentrated vitamins and minerals bound to high-quality protein. But hey, we have to look at both sides of the coin here. We immediately have to counter that with the Consumer Center Watchdog's rather harsh criticism. They boldly titled their report, "Lots of Green and Little Behind It." These critical organizations point out the neutral fact that the overall protein content in a standard daily dose of tablets is actually quite low relative to our overall dietary needs. And, crucially, they specifically challenge the usability of the vitamin B12 found within the algae. So, what is the actual truth about vitamin B12 and spirulina? Well, neutrally speaking, the reality is highly nuanced. The B12 content in microalgae naturally fluctuates based on the harvest, and it actively degrades as the product ages on a shelf. Because of this natural degradation, transparent manufacturers, like Sanatur, make the honest admission of explicitly avoiding advertising vitamin B12 on their packaging altogether. It really goes to show that the truth usually lies somewhere right in the middle of these extreme claims. Shifting the narrative away from nutritional debates, let's talk about agricultural realities. How do we actually guarantee these microalgae are pure and safe?
So the crucial point is that standard EU regulations actually fall surprisingly short. If you look at standard EU eco regulations, they surprisingly allow the use of liquid manure in water cultures and set the maximum limit for PAHs, those are environmental pollutants, at 50 micrograms per kilo. Compare that to the natural land seal, which outright forbids liquid manure, guarantees social standards like fair pay, and cuts that PAH limit in half to 25. But then you have the independent Sinatra standard, which goes even further, capping the PAH limit at an incredibly strict 10 micrograms per kilo. It's a stark reminder that just because a label says eco, it doesn't mean the standards are identical.
To bring that dry regulatory data to life, achieving those ultra-strict standards requires some very specific, pristine geographical conditions. High-quality microalgae isn't just grown in some local pond. Sonator sources theirs from southern Taiwan to harness that ideal tropical climate. They've partnered with a cultivator named Femico, who has been perfecting this for over 30 years, growing the algae in specialized basins fed strictly by controlled mountain spring water. Let's move to and see how this builds into the final empirical evidence of real-world experiences. Check out this impressive star rating, 4.7 out of 5 stars. That is the aggregate score based on 13 independent consumer reviews from the MedPEX online pharmacy for these organic spirulina tablets. It shows that despite all the watchdog skepticism we talked about, the actual consumers, the people spending their own hard-earned money, are overwhelmingly thrilled. And what exactly are they reporting? The diversity of these user-reported benefits is absolutely fascinating. Users are explicitly reporting tangible improvements to their hair, nails, and skin. Multiple reviewers detailed profound relief from modern everyday ailments like leaky gut and severe food intolerances. Others noted it successfully combats deep fatigue. There was even one user who specifically mentioned it counteracted the exhaustion caused by their beta blocker medications. We also see reports of alleviation from joint pain and early-stage rheumatism. All right, if you're considering safely integrating this into your routine, the manufacturer provides some exact, practical dosage guidelines. Step 1. Always remember, microalgae is an addition to, not a replacement for, a generally healthy lifestyle. Step 2. The recommended daily dose for adults is 4.8 grams, which is roughly 12 tablets taken with plenty of water. Step 3. For general maintenance, you integrate it for 4 weeks, twice a year. Though, for those with a consistently high need for micronutrients, it is totally safe for continuous daily consumption. So, we've looked at the science, the rigorous standards, and the compelling real-world reviews. As one manufacturer pointedly asked in our source text, is the relief solely due to the dense micronutrients? Or is there a bit of psychological belief in the green power at play here? Either way, the results are really hard to ignore. The microalgae phenomenon is complex, highly regulated by the best manufacturers, and deeply appreciated by its users. So, what do you think? Are you ready to add algae to your plate? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.